The Creality K2 Plus. I got my hands on one, I've been testing it. We all know why we're here. Let's get into it. I need a better table. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Frank, and today we are doing a first look at the Creality K2 Plus. It's gonna be a little bit of a first look and a little bit of a review. I'm not quite ready to put out a full dedicated review for this machine. It will be featured in some upcoming videos like the best 3D printer of 2024, and I might be testing every single multicolor, multi-material printer against each other, like the Prusa XL, the Bambu X1C with the AMS, the Cobra 3 with the A system, and well, this thing. So stay tuned for those two videos, but let's talk about the K2 Plus. Now, I already know that there is both Creality and Bambu Lab fans watching this video, waiting to see, is this the bigger X1? Is this the new thing on the block? Or is it just a bigger K2 with Creality's AMS system? And I'm going to accidentally call it an AMS through this entire video. It is the CFS, the Creality Filament system. Bambu did it first, they get to coin the name. It's an AMS, it's like Band-Aid, deal with it. So I'm gonna be talking about the printer as a whole, the K2 Plus itself, and then we will get into the CFS system and the prints that it put out. We're gonna be comparing the quality of both of them. How does it print just by itself as a large Core XY printer, the K2 instead of the K1, and how does the multi-material system actually work? Is it good? Did I have any issues with it? So we're gonna cover all of that. But first up, if you're new here and you don't know what you're looking at, this is the Creality K2 Plus. It is the typical successor of the Creality K1 Max. I feel like Max should have been bigger, plus whatever, to each his own. Anyway, this baby right now by itself, just the K2 Plus, is sitting at, let me check my notes, $1,550 on Creality's website. That's what the MSRP is. It is currently on sale for $1,299. That's a Black Friday sale. Once the Black Friday sale is over, I don't know if it'll actually go back to $1,550. It might not. It might be one of those car dealership things where, wow, look at this $5,000 printer. We have it for sale for $12.99, come buy it now. It's a sales tactic, deal with it. But if you want the CFS system, you want the all-in-one package, you are looking at $1,799, $1,800, that's what the website says, but it is currently on Black Friday sale for $1,499 because that is so much cheaper than $1,500 or $1,500. Thank you, Donut Media, for that reference. Now, if you do go and capitalize on those Black Friday sales that are currently out there, these do not start shipping until December 5th, after Black Friday. And I don't know, not the biggest fan of that. I do wish they had gotten these out before Black Friday so normal consumers could have got their hands on it and tested them before this big Black Friday push, but new product, whatever. It's a pretty good printer. We're gonna talk about all of it. Okay, so I've gone and stripped away the CFS system because I just wanna talk about the K2 Plus and what you get as a printer itself. This thing sits at 350 by 350 by 350 millimeters cubed. It is the second largest Core XY consumer level printer on the market right now, next to the Prusa XL, which sits at 360 by 360 by 360, just minusculely bigger. For a little bit of visual representation, this is how big you can print on the K2 Plus. Yes, it's hollow and there was some lamination issues. We'll talk about the CFS later with the filament swaps, but that's max volume right there. This thing is huge. They can fit full-size helmets like a Master Chief helmet just fine. This is a really big one-shot print. It wasn't printed on this, but like you could. This is one of the first printers that I've actually reviewed that has a full heated chamber. So including the nozzle and the bed, the chamber can actually be heated to 60 degrees Celsius to help with things like printing ABS and other materials that need that heated environment. Speaking of temperatures, the bed gets up to 120 and the nozzle gets up to 350 degrees Celsius. And I can't find too much media on what the nozzle itself is made of, but it is a new extruder system that Creality is using that is actually a pretty good improvement over the K1 Maxes, where swapping out the heat break and the nozzle if there was a clog or an issue was a little tricky on the K1 Maxes, but on this they've actually gone and improved it a lot. You can take that front cover off and you have much better access to everything in case there is an issue. It can print at 600 millimeters a second. Allegedly, every high-speed printer says it can do that in a perfect environment. It still does print very, very fast, but just know for funsies, this printer weighs a lot. It is 34 kilograms, which I think is 60 or 70 pounds. It's heavy. Getting it in here was not easy. I think it weighs more than my Prusa XL. So if you're gonna be moving it around for whatever reason, get a friend. It also has an AI camera. It actually has two. It has one little camera sitting in the front right here, and that's where it does its like prime line and flow rate calibration so it can see the bed. And then there's another little camera on the hot end to look at everything else going on. And it has 3 air purifiers in the back with some filters, which is really cool. I don't know what they're rated to. Again, there's not much media about certain features of this, but you can go look at the spec page if you want to see everything else. And like I said with the nozzle, it says it can print PLA carbon fiber and PET carbon fiber, so it has to be some type of hardened steel nozzle or reinforced nozzle. It doesn't look like a brass nozzle. That would be insane for 350 degrees. So it is a hardened nozzle, so that should be totally fine. I'm pretty sure all the K1 Maxes have that anyway, so it'd be weird if the K2 Plus did not. Hi, I've moved closer to the camera so I can better explain what's going on here. The actual features and construction of this are painfully similar to the K1 Max. The user interface on the screen, exactly the same. I actually like this user interface. It's very easy to navigate. All the same basic simple things like homing, movement, temp, all that fun stuff, file management. One of my first gripes was the fact that the USB drive is here on the side. It's gonna make stacking them next to each other a little tricky. I don't know why it couldn't have been right in the front or on the bottom like the K1 Max. That is just a minor annoyance. It's not gonna be for everybody. And I do not remember where the actual filament holder goes because I've been using the CFS the entire time. I think it bolts here to the side somewhere. Pretty nice, has a little glass cover on the top. The bed's really large, it's awesome. It does do a weird thing though, if you power it down, and let's see if I can find that. Nope, that's not it. Ready? Let's see if it does it. The bed's so heavy, it just drops to the floor. I don't really think that's a negative, but don't leave stuff down there, I guess, because it could crush it. So, food for thought. Aside from that, the construction is also pretty similar to what you would see on something like a Bambu lab. It has the little hoop chute in the back with the wiper system and the filament cutter, so it just kind of does the same thing. For those of you wondering, there are murmurs, and it's on the website, that they are working on conversion kits for the Ender 3 Plus and the K1 Max to accept the CFS system, but there's gonna be parts swapping and nozzle changes, and there's gonna be a lot that goes into it, so don't expect it anytime soon, but they are working on it, which is pretty cool. Okay, we talked about the printer enough and the construction of it, but how does it print? So the reason I said in the beginning that this isn't like a full, complete, 100% review yet, is because I haven't been able to throw as many prints at this as I want. But if I'm being honest, I wasn't as excited to throw normal prints at this as I was to test the color changing in the CFS system. So I don't have a lot of normal prints on it, but the ones I do came out pretty good. All of my little benchy boys came out pretty much how you'd expect. Nothing crazy going on with either of them. This red filament I did leave out for quite a while, so that will explain some of the stringing, whereas the black one came out a little bit better. The writing on the bottom, the first layer, not painfully bad, what you'd expect out of a Creality right out of box. It's not amazing, but they did print them very quickly, and it did all of its own little self-checks and leveling. I didn't need to do anything. It just did this out of box, which is great. That's what we expect nowadays. I hate leveling beds. After that, I went and started using the CFS system, but then before filming this video, I'm like, oh, I should probably print some normal stuff. So I went and printed some red hood helmets because I just haven't done that in a while. The first one was Creality's red filament, whatever they gave me to review this and like test this printer, and it came out really, really good. Like really, really, really good. I haven't taken the supports off yet. Let's, ooh. Oh, that one's a little, oh, there it is. Not bad. Now, for anybody wondering, for all of the prints I sliced myself, the multicolor, the red hood, whatever, I was using Creality print. We're gonna talk about some of the gripes with that and why I think it led to an issue with a really long multicolor print that, well, you'll see. But the red hood helmet came out great. This is standard quality on Creality print, nothing crazy. I believe it was an 11-hour print, not bad. Here's something a little more reflective. This is a black Creality filament. And again, I just swapped the roll around. I didn't do anything else, and this thing came out pretty good too. Literally the exact same file. I didn't swap anything except the filament. It was about an 11-hour print again. The exact same G-code, came out really nice. But this is all something that my K1 Maxes can do, and like nothing to write home about. They're pretty nice. Now, some of you keen-eyed might already notice this gold red hood helmet, and this was a weird filament resume. I was using the CFS system, it ran out of gold filament, I reloaded it, and I've had no problem reloading filament before, especially on this big helmet I printed over here, but I threw a new gold filament, hit resume, left the room, and I came back and it said the print was done, but it never actually resumed. So the AI camera didn't detect it, or it didn't know to detect it, or it wasn't detecting that the filament was flowing through the nozzle. I'm not quite sure why this happened. Kind of annoying, but I've had this happen, I think, on a Bambu once or twice, but yeah, it was coming out. Look at that. Look at that silk. This was coming out. This is coming out good too. When this video is over, I'm going to reprint this with a larger roll of gold filament just so it's one piece, but I don't know why it had this one hiccup, and this is kind of the only hiccup it's had so far, but still kind of bummed. But out of box quality for a printer, nowadays, 2024 going into 25, this is what you expect. How long this quality is going to last as the printer gets more wear and tear, Time will tell. I literally can't tell you that now. I do know that my K1 Maxes, the quality after over a year has fallen off a little bit. I don't take care of them as well as I should. I don't grease the rods as much as I should. I definitely haven't tensioned or tightened the belts, and they're still printing really, really well. I am still literally printing Flexi Rexis every day for my Etsy, and oh, I just noticed that first layer didn't make it. So here I am praising the K1, and don't know what happened there, but they still come out great. Well, so far, just the K2 Plus, great print quality. It is just a bigger K1 Max. You guys know I love my K1 Maxes. I have 4 of them and they still all work, and it's been over a year. This is just a bigger, it's the K2 Plus. It's awesome. So if you're just in it for large one color printing, Core XY, the biggest kind of, I'm still calling it the biggest because the Prusa XL is so expensive. Not that much more expensive than this now that I'm looking at the price tag on it, but like it's enclosed, it has a heated chamber, and it's just a little bit easier to set up than the Prusa XL, but it's a Creality, so take that with a grain of salt, whatever you want. So far, so good. Now let's talk about the multicolor features. So the Creality CFS system, pretty good. It's actually pretty cool. They've drastically improved it over the little issues I had with the AMS, and let's take a look at it, shall we? Wait, how'd you get there? Tools. So just like the Bambus, this can accept 4 of these. There's a little hub thingamabober on the back. You don't need to install it if you're just running one. I have it here anyway. You hear me flicking it. And then you can just sit the CFS on top of the printer. I think if you just position this differently or don't use the hub, you can have the CFS sitting next to it. I think there's a couple different configurations you can set it up as. So this is the CFS system. It's just kind of nicer. It feels better built than the AMS system. I do like these little Bowden tubes to help feed the filament in. All the detection systems, it auto feeds, checks everything, runs it through the same way the AMS does. Has just 2 cables on the back instead of the AMS's 1 cable. Is it just 1 cable? I think it's 1 cable. I have one right here. It's 1 cable. It has a nice little screen on the front. You'll see it turn on once I actually plug it into the printer, but it's a really nice little system. Let me get that out of there, because the maintenance on the bottom is a lot easier. You can actually see the Bowden tubes all coming through. There's a nice little pressure extruder gear thing here. I don't know what to call it, but it'll help you pull any stuck filament out. This way you don't need to turn on the printer and feed or retract, and that's something you have to do on the AMS currently, which kind of gets a little annoying. But if there's any jammed or stuck filament, I can literally just pop the Bowden tubes out right here. I can take this whole hub adapter out without having to open up the AMS, take the 2 screws out. Maintenance on this is just going to be a lot easier, especially with so many moving parts, filament going in and out and wearing down the tubes. It is a wearable item. There is going to be maintenance involved with this. The same reason Bambu sells so many maintenance parts for the AMS, the CFS is going to fall prey to the same things, but it looks like repairing it and working on it's going to be a lot easier. I definitely like this little lever arm here. This is going to make it a lot easier, and the fact that I can access all of the Bowden tubes from the bottom, so awesome. Now, I haven't actually taken the full thing apart like I have with the AMS, but there hasn't been a reason to. Has a little desiccant bag sitting on the side, has the same little roller wheel system that the AMS has, and you can just swap the bearings out and pop everything back in. Really awesome. So Creality definitely took notes on things they can improve with the AMS, because the AMS is what, almost 2 years old now, over 2 years. So this is definitely the new kid on the block. It is definitely better than the Anycubic Cobra ACE system. I got one sitting right here for that review video, and I have some notes on this thing. So you can see the little screen here. Isn't that cool? It gives you the temperature and humidity right on the CFS. I know there's little things you can buy for the AMS that like slip into the front to give you the same things. It's really cool that it just comes with that. I like it. It looks cool. It sits right on top. Because the K2 is so much bigger than the Bambus or any other printer, it just, you know, it just looks like a weird small hat. It's cute. Now the UI doesn't change on the screen. When you plug this in, it's the same UI system, except when you go to the filament to extrude and retract and refill, it just gives you the 4 options. And then it also gives you the external spool, but you can't use that when this is on. So it's not complicated at all. It's pretty intuitive. But what's the print quality, Frank? I'm glad you asked. So here are some of the prints I threw at this with the multicolor system, the Creality filament system. And it did all of the swaps perfectly. I just used all the filament that they gave me. And just like any multicolor system, it's going to have a purge tower right here that's gonna build up next to it, the little wipe tower to make sure everything's extruding. So it's always going to be as tall as the last color change. In this case, it was black. And then it only did 1 wipe, and then it finished off the print. The printer also does this flow calibration little strip right near the camera. It starts it right in the corner of the bed here. This way the camera sitting up here can see, and it does a couple little checks to make sure everything's printing. So this is gonna happen, I think, every time if you select it. I don't know why you wouldn't select it, better safe than sorry, but not a bad benchy. Next up, I printed Creality's logo. The top layering came out real nice, and this was just a stock file. I didn't slice this, but yeah, again, little wipe tower and prime tower, and not bad. Next up, was my logo, because I have a 3D file of my logo and I'm like, you know what? Why not? I do wish I picked my actual colors, but I was just trying to burn the filament that Creality gave me. So I did change some things around and it came out perfect. The only issue I have with it is because of the way the 3D model is, I missed some painting in there, and that's my fault with the slicer. Just it wasn't the printer's issue. The printer did exactly what the printer was told to do, which was print exactly like this, and it did, and I think that's pretty neat. I'm actually, just like I did on my P1S, I'm gonna probably just glue that right there, and I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, great quality. And then I made a little bit of a whoopsie. I printed a Captain America shield flat, and the supports, I was like, oh, they're not gonna be that bad to break out. They're that bad to break out. This entire, I guess I was waiting to do this in the video, so. Damn it. I knew that was gonna happen. This is all support material. Unfortunately, the star kind of fused. Man, just come out. Hey, this was a massive waste of filament. So we'll just glue that back in at some point. But like, it worked. Again, the printer did what the printer was told to do, and in this case, something really stupid. It was a standard quality, wasn't anything crazy. Is it a Captain America shield? Yeah, no one's gonna argue that. It would have looked better if I had printed it standing up like this. However, it would have gone through so many filament changes and taken way longer, where printing it flat like this just, you know what? But I say that as this is now the support material. I don't know, it's probably a wash. Let's look at the helmet. Okay, so I have two boxes here, and because you guys are watching this video for the K2 Plus, you get a small sneak peek at that upcoming video I was talking about comparing all the multicolor printers together. I have here a box for the X1 Carbon and an entire Mark 85 helmet printed on the X1 Carbon. Turns out that the Akira Huming Mark 85 helmet fits one shot on the X1s, which is, well, any Bambu. It all fits, you'll see it in the video. So I printed it, and it was like a 5-day print. It took a while, a lot of color changes. I also did the same thing on the K2 Plus, and it took the same amount of time because it had the same amount of color changes. These were printed with the exact same settings in Orca Slicer, except I did use Creality Print for this helmet. I wanted to see how Creality Print operated, and I think that's where this story falls apart, unfortunately. Now, there were a lot of filament changes, and there were actually 2 complete pauses on the X1, and you can see the results of it right here. I'll show you in close-ups. There was a long pause here and a long pause there, and I think that led to this having just a little bit of banding. Also, halfway through, the prime tower fell over because of reasons, and so this side got kind of messed up because where it was trying to wipe the filament, it would run into the helmet. And hey, on this side, looks pretty good. I haven't finished clearing off the supports for it yet, but I wanna weigh the waste because the waste is something that everybody asks about. This is some of the supports I cleared out, and then the supports are still on this. But this entire box here is all the filament. Every single filament change I captured. So this is all the poop from the X1. Same thing with the K2. This came out surprisingly good, but I'm gonna show you in some close-ups. I think it's printing too fast for its own good, and I think that has to do with Creality Print. There's a lot of actual physical banding up this entire print, and I did not the flow calibration, the flushing volume adjustments. I put in the right filaments, I made sure the temperatures are right, and this thing still came out. I would not be happy if this was a 5-day print and this is what turned out, but it did it flawlessly. It didn't have any issues, it did pause, it did resume when it ran out of filament, it pooped just fine, and the print came out. But I think the quality of this has to do with the slicer. So in the upcoming video, comparing all these machines together, I'm gonna use Orca Slicer this time to send the G-code and print this and see if that changes it. If it doesn't, then it's the printer, but I don't let this to be a definitive quality assurance review on this case, because like I said, I think it's a slicer. And yet again, all the poop of the K2 Plus. Let's weigh them real quick. These boxes are the same. I'm not gonna zero it out, so I'm just gonna weigh everything together. This one is 1,642 grams, and the X1 is 1,482. Apparently the X2 pooped less. Now, this could be, again, the difference from Creality Print to Orca Slicer. The flushing volume is being calculated just a little bit differently, but they both pooped over a roll and a half of filament. That's a lot. Sorry, over a roll of filament. I forgot about the box weight, whatever. That's still a lot of waste. Now, the waste isn't a gripe on this specific printer. It's not a gripe about the K2 Plus. And again, we're gonna get into all of that, the waste material, the flushing volumes in that upcoming video. If you're in the market for a multicolor, large format printer, it delivered. It didn't have any issues I was really expecting it to have. It's just, again, I think it's the slicer currently, so there's more to that, but it operated exactly how it needed to. I sent a 5-day print. I went to Kentucky for something completely different, and this little guy just chugged on. There will be more to come with this, and you guys can also check my Instagram stories because I'll be updating it there, but like, it worked. And from a distance, without pointing out those flaws, it's an Iron Man helmet. It's a multicolor print. This looks pretty cool. It handled the silks beautifully. Did the X1s come out better? Yeah, you guys were probably expecting it to, but the fact that it worked and still delivered the same level of helmet, maybe not the same quality, is still impressive for Creality's first attack at a multicolor, multi-material printing system. The CFS works, and I like it. That's pretty cool. So, final opinions and thoughts. Do I recommend this printer? Do I like it? Did it deliver? Is it underwhelming? Do I recommend something else? This gets 3 thumbs up. There's a third. I like it. This is exactly what Creality said they were gonna put out. They delivered. It is currently the 2nd largest Core XY multicolor, multi-material printer on the market, and it doesn't cost $4,500 with 5 tool heads. I have some issues with the XL. Again, definitely stay tuned for that video. Speaking of all of that, make sure you're subscribed so you can like see all the videos I have coming out about the multicolor printers, the X1s, the XLs, whatever. But if you have been looking forward to this printer, you want the 350 by 350, you like your K1s, you held out for the K1s, and you want the K2. You want the biggest possible option for multicolor printing in a Core XY configuration that's fast, easy to use, reliable out of the box. So far, this thing's delivered. There's been 1 or 2 little hiccups. This mask was a weird thing, and the flushing and filament waste, that's just something that happens with multicolor printing that isn't the printer's fault per se. And again, that little thing I'm having with Creality print, we'll figure that out, but it works. I took it out of box, calibrated it, set it up, it loads the filament, the CFS works great, user interface is good, and the printer just prints. I have no complaints for this thing at all. I do think the price tag is a little bit high, but there really aren't any alternatives currently. If you're not concerned about the size, no, I'd still get a P1S with an AMS because it can do a full-size Iron Man helmet in one shot. You just have to angle it the right way, and it can do Red Hood helmets. So if you don't need the size, don't get it for the size. You could get 2 to 3 P1Ss for the price of this thing. But if you've been holding out for the 350 cubed and Bambu hasn't put out anything, apparently now it's gonna be Q1 2025, maybe eat my own words in another video. Thanks, Bambu. This is it. This will hold you over. Is the quality as perfect and amazing as a Bambu? No, but it is a very close second, and most people aren't gonna be able to tell the difference in it. And it's just hopefully gonna get better. There's probably gonna be updates. There's already been like 2 firmware updates on this thing since I unboxed it, and it's not even released yet. Creality is definitely upgrading and improving things. So it's a good printer. I like it. Honestly, if I had the room, I'd get rid of my K1 Maxes and get a couple of these. I don't need the multicolor for them necessarily, but it's a good printer. Now, if you don't feel I did enough testing on this machine, again, there are those other videos coming out, so definitely stay tuned for that. I will be releasing a best printer of 2024 video where I'll have put this through a couple more of its paces, and this way you don't have to pull the trigger. I know that sale, Black Friday sale for Creality is going on till like December, so hopefully that lasts and you guys hold off a little bit longer. But if this video convinced you on getting the K2 Plus, please consider using my affiliate link down below because it helps support the channel. You don't have to use the link. You can go buy it wherever you want, but it's just your way of giving back because I made the video for the review, whatever. It's all symbiotic and cyclic. I thank you for watching. Thank you so much, guys. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them down below. I read all of them. I will respond to as many as possible. Definitely stay tuned for all the stuff I have coming out, and have a happy holidays, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.